Hello and welcome back all my Dragon Ball theorists. Before the Tournament of Power rules were set, the Grand Priest appeared before everyone to let them know that date of this epic tournament that Goku had been waiting for. This tournament would take place on the 3,135,500,603rd day of the King's Calendar. This is an interesting bit of information because of what we know about calendars and how they work. To explain our most used civil calendar on our planet, the Gregorian Calendar puts this video's creation today on April 4th, 2018, or the 737,153rd day. So what was day 0? Well, the calendar in years we are in now is referred to as AD, which in medieval Latin is anno domini, which means in the year of the Lord. And to go back further, there is of course BC, which is before Christ. As we know through the history of our current calendar, the amount of time that happened BC is an eternity longer than the mere 2018 years that we go by today. All calendars have a significant happening that someone goes by and decided to create it around that event. So the King's Calendar, the Grand Priest, and everyone goes by is a representation of none other than the omni-king himself. It represents his birth and coming into existence, except who made the calendar and how much time was there before Zeno. An early misconception is that Zeno created all the universes and everything in them. However, we now know that we haven't seen Zeno create anything. He isn't this omniscient, all-knowing being. The Omni-Kings actually rely heavily on the Grand Priest to show them what is happening in the multiverse. He is there to make a god pad so they can watch super fast fighters, and even the first attempt to use the Super Dragon Balls was something that was brought to Zeno's attention. So who was first, the Grand Priest or Zeno? Well, someone had to make our King's Calendar, and there had to be something before the Omni-King. While Zeno is the top of the food chain and can erase anything in the blink of an eye, it's unlikely he created everything or set up the entire god hierarchy. So in this time before Zeno, and the King's Calendar was most likely a different time. It was a time of old gods, a time of war and a struggle for balance. Maybe during these years before time and Zeno, it really was angels versus demons. It was a battle of these old gods, and it is why all the angels are currently the amazing powerful fighters they are. They were locked in a heated battle against their demonic counterparts, and perhaps they were losing. The Grand Priest, the father of the angels, was losing a battle and decided that something needed to be done. That desperate times called for desperate measures or evil would win. So the angels pulled all their powers of creation together to create a being to settle the war. A being that would have ultimate power and erase their enemies in an instant. This being would forever change time and existence and be the sole true Omni-King. So on the darkest day before time, as we know it right before the angels were about to lose, they pulled their trump card. They created and brought Zeno-sama into existence. A childlike innocence that was the result of the culmination of their combined power. On that day, Zeno erased all the enemies of the angels, and a new era had begun. The Grand Priest decides with the remaining angels to create 18 universes for each to oversee. That on this day, it would be the first day of the King's Calendar. That the Grand Priest would also now be an assistant to watch over the tremendous power they all created in Zeno. This is also why the angels aren't to be erased, and that their divine role is different. They are what is left of a time before the Omni-King. They are the remaining survivors of a war against the old gods, and now as we know, Zeno is the god. The Grand Priest guiding Zeno and the angels set up the current multiverse as we know it. This is why the angels have their respected roles, and the Grand Priest comes off as the one behind the scenes pulling the strings. Well, at least that's how I see it in this story of what it would be like before the Omni-King and how he came into existence. I hope everyone enjoyed this theory and the idea of a time before Zeno and the King's Calendar. I was talking with someone privately about the King's Calendar, and I can't find their name at this time as I get so many messages, and lost it a while ago when we were originally discussing its meaning, and I did want to give them a shout out as I decided to write this story around it. Now tell me what you think in the comments below. Was there a time before Zeno and the King's Calendar? Was there a dark time without balance that the angels survived after Zeno came into existence? I always love to hear your theories in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and please subscribe to support the channel and turn on that notification bell to keep those theories coming.